Welcome to Reading the Green, our golf and fantasy sports show. My name is Mike with Kyle and Jordan on Tuesday, January 23rd for episode 94. Big announcement coming up, guys. How you doing?
Welcome, gentlemen. I'm good.
Feeling good? Is this it, Kyle? Is this the last dry pod of the month or what?
Last dry pod.
Okay.
Because, the month of January ends this Saturday as far as I'm concerned. So last dry pod of the month. Got a little bit of a cold here, so hopefully avoid any coughs on air, but I'm fighting through it. I'm doing well.
Jordan, you all right? You got a drink?
Good to go. Got my beer. Ready to go. Ready to gloat over you guys on my one and done pick that you ridiculed me on.
We did. It was stupid. We'll get to that. We have the American Express recap, the Farmers Insurance Open preview, and a big RTG announcement, which I guess isn't it's not brand new, but we're making progress because we're headed to the U.S. Open at Pinehurst in June 2024. We've already said that. We bought our tickets for the Thursday general admission gallery access. We're going to be out at the course all day, but we are officially going to be there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So anyone else that's going to be in the area that's looking to go to the U.S. Open, that's maybe playing some golf around Pinehurst, North Carolina that time, we're going to be there. If you have suggestions on where to play, we're basically looking for golf courses between Pinehurst and Raleigh, willing to drive a little bit, but Jordan, you texted the next morning.
Let's go.
You ready to golf?
Yeah, I am. That's my next golf thing, right? Yeah, the season will kick off and whatnot, and we'll start playing. But I didn't do a golf trip this year. I'm ready. I'm ready for one this year. Or I didn't do one last year. I'm ready for one this year.
See, the first place my mind went is, oh crap, I now need to get lessons.
That is what you said. You did. I did not put two and two together that those things were related, but now that makes sense.
Yeah, we're gonna play what? 4 rounds? Is that what we landed on in 4 days?
I think we said 4 rounds.
Yep.
We're playing 4 rounds over 3 days with 1 day of watching golf there, and probably a live pod, right? Post watching golf. I just got to make sure I keep it on the tracks for all 4 days.
Yeah, well, you're pretty well known for keeping it on the tracks.
Hey, sometimes.
But this is perfect for you. If you go get lessons, practice a bunch, don't play that much, your handicap's not going to go down, and then you can really take we're going to bet for some money out on these rounds.
Oh, of course.
So you'll be in prime position to take our money.
I shouldn't have told you about the lessons. I should have just done that in the background.
Covert
style.
I'm still used to seeing you chip, so I'm not too worried. But
Jordan is basically saying you need years of lessons. Is that what you're saying, Jordan? Kyle,
it's not just his full swing.
I know we had our eyes on Tobacco Road, and I guess as most of the area golf courses are probably going to jack up their prices a little bit, but we'll see if we get out there. I believe they tout no out of bounds on the property. So Kyle, that sounds like that's right up your alley.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm not that bad off the tee. As Jordan said,
no, I'm the one that needs it.
Yeah, my short game leaves a lot to be desired.
So that 18-foot bunker, maybe that's got your name written all over it.
Funny enough, there was a point in time where I really liked to hit out of bunkers. I'd rather be in a bunker rather than just greenside grass. But that also disappeared from me towards the end of last year as well. So who freaking knows by the time we get there?
And isn't it also there's no sand, it's all waste bunkers. There's no rakes anywhere. It's
no
just,
rakes.
That's like going to Whistling Straits or some of those places. Bandon's a little bit like that too.
Don't say that to Dustin Johnson or you're gonna get punched.
You're right. Should have read the rules. Kyle, Kyle, what do you want to talk about pizza? You got something about pizza?
Oh yeah, Justin Thomas and pizza. So did you read this? I believe it was it came out last week in Golf Digest. He talked about, like reinventing himself from last year, basically. And I guess last year when things were not going great, he got hooked up with dietitians, tried different diets, different workout regimens, all this stuff. And he went gluten-free and dairy-free.
Ugh.
And then after he completely bombed at the British Open, the next place he came was Minnesota to come play the 3M. And he decided to say, hey, forget the diet. So the first thing he
Oh,
did,
really?
yes. Well, first thing he did when he arrived in Minnesota was order 2 gluten-free pizzas because he didn't think he should go back on the gluten and dairy train at the same time. So he just went dairy first and ordered 2 gluten-free pizzas from somewhere in the Twin Cities. The article did not name where. So that got me curious. JT lands here and just dominates. He said they were delicious, by the way. 2 gluten-free pizzas.
Really?
Where do we think it was from? And the hard part here is, so the 3M Open is played in Blaine, which might as well be Canada, relative to downtown Minneapolis. So some of the best places I would recommend somebody to go get some gluten-free pizza, you're a long ways away in Blaine.
Not there.
Dude, did he really order 2? Like he just ate 2 pizzas himself? Like he was that hungry?
Well, gluten-free ones, they don't ever make big ones because there are never that many people in one place that want to eat them. So they only make them small.
Okay. I buy that. That makes sense. And they don't have any like weight to them, so you can just inhale them. I don't know, Kyle. I mean, we have a very small Minnesota-based audience. We have people all over the country that listen, so this is useful to very few people. I don't know. I mean, I'm partial to the spots around town here. Hello Pizza, which is I pay a stupid amount of money for what is kind of basic
I've never
pizza.
had Hello Pizza.
Yeah.
It's basically the bottom of the rung of Ann Kim restaurants. So it's like her cheap pizza joint. So like Hello, Lola, Young Joni, but you pay Ann Kim prices.
I didn't realize that was an Ann Kim. So I naturally went to Yelp and said, look, hey, what's the best gluten-free pizza? Black Sheep comes up number 1. Pizza Lola.
They could run that out to Blaine pretty easily.
No.
So
yeah.
No.
Or Luce, Pizza Luce. But if I ever come across JT, the first question I'm going to ask him is, where did he get his pizza?
It's got to be.
That is a great question.
But looking like Blaine, like Broadway, like I don't.
Well, Kyle, you're not really
someone that hasn't had
connoisseur.
any dairy for months. Any pizza is going to taste good if you all of a sudden put a bunch of cheese on it.
I mean, Kyle, you don't eat dairy, and so the thought of me giving up dairy and or gluten is just I can't even fathom what that's like.
I
don't care enough about golfing better to give both of those up. Maybe one or the other, not both.
So Jordan said you haven't eaten that long. Well, what if you haven't eaten like good dairy in mass amounts in 20 years? I mean, for a really hot minute, it would taste really good. And then things would
get it.
Really,
I get it.
Really bad.
I will say pizza though. Have either of you had El Mars in Plymouth? It's like New York style by the slice. Very good.
I did hear that recently. Yeah.
And it's not, I don't know, Mike, you probably had Joey Nova's.
Yeah.
Like Joey Nova's is good, but it's greasy and floppy. This was like had a nice crunch, like a New York style with a good crunch to it. So I went there this weekend. That's why it's fresh in the mind when we brought up pizza. Go to El Mars. It's good.
Greasy and floppy. I got it. Yeah.
We'll let JT know next time he's in town.
I love that. I love that, Jordan. Kyle, we're gonna be at the US Open, and it's gonna be right after he smashes a drive. You're gonna be like, where'd you get your pizza? All right, last question, then we'll get into the Amex. Obviously, this will help us transition. Nick Dunlap. We're going to talk a lot about Nick Dunlap and everything that he did. But there's this big debate. There's this big debate of what's he going to do and what's happening and why did he withdraw from the Farmers with basically this huge decision sitting right in front of him. So we had a little bit of back and forth over text when it happened and when he withdrew from the Farmers. But Kyle, do you have a rundown on exactly what he's looking at and maybe a take on what's running through his mind?
But yeah, with the win now, he can become a full professional status, receive his 2-year exemption, get into all the elevated events this year, have access or a pathway to all majors, right? Because he's not guaranteed. Is he guaranteed in
He's
the
guaranteed
US?
the Masters and the
Yeah.
PGA, I think, as being a result as a winner. Maybe just the Masters.
Yeah, well, I know. I think PGA is quick. You think you're correct there too. I mean, he wouldn't be guaranteed into the U.S. Open yet, right?
No, or the British Open, but
Right.
he would also, if he stayed an amateur, have access to those as well as reigning U.S.
Right.
amateur champion. So the Masters is on the table regardless. And just for those that like missed this, like Nick Dunlap, who's a 20-year-old amateur that plays for Alabama, wins the Amex, and so he has this decision of whether or not he's going to be a full-time PGA Tour member, basically secure his future, including all elevated events or a path to elevated events.
Yeah, I mean, he
for
would
the
be in
next 2
all
years.
elevated events this year. So I think my theory is he withdrew from this week because he's going to take a breather, and the first elevated event is next week at Pebble, and I think he's planning on being there. So I think he's gonna go pro, if you will, and I think he just took this week to take a moment, soak it all in, and then he's gonna get back out there.
Yeah,
do you
and to
think, Jordan?
sign
Should
those
he do it?
contracts before he misses the cut this week. Right?
Well,
Like
apparently,
the worst thing that he could do is win and then not even come close to making the cut this week because of the, up and down of the last 7 days. Get some contracts signed, sign with TaylorMade,
Get a sponsorship deal.
get that all locked in before he goes to the next tournament and misses 5 cuts in a row.
so you think this is a done deal that he's saying? I mean, I do too, just given that he withdrew as well. But you think it's a done deal, no question. He leaves Alabama in the middle of the season, says, I'm 20 years old, and I'm going to start the PGA Tour grind.
I mean, maybe there's a slight chance with NIL parts of it now, right? That give at least
Golf
a
can't
pathway for money.
command that much money, though.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, but at least there's a pathway for a little bit of money. But no, come on. I mean, this is life-changing at this point in time, and he gets there now. And you never know. You never know what's going to happen. Injuries and other stuff in life. You got to get it while the getting's good.
The one reason that he may not go, I Googled him and looked him up, and he was homeschooled. So he could be more, I don't know, right? It brings in a different dynamic. Obviously, he was a golfer, so that could have played into it as well. But usually then you're at an academy or,
You're
somewhere
saying he
where
might be weird.
or just from a family that doesn't stress making millions of dollars immediately. I don't know. It threw a wrinkle in there that normally I would have not even considered, but I was like, homeschooled. Yeah.
I was curious how you were going to finish that thought, Jordan.
I was trying not, I got told I shouldn't make racist or other inferences.
Of course not.
On here. Not that I've
The
made
one-
any, but
The one thing I'm trying to figure out is, and I wish I should have prepped this, is Nick Dunlap even the best player on Alabama? It does appear that his overall stroke average is minus 33 on the season. Sorry, I'm looking this up live. Minus 33 on the season. Nobody else on the team. Austin Coggin -7. Everyone else is above par. So I take that back. He's averaging 4 strokes under par in the season.
I did see during the broadcast, though, he was a second-team All-American last year and first-team All-SEC. So who was the All-Americans last year?
Well, was Ludwig probably still in school then? Gordon Sargent, a couple of those guys. Let me ask you this question, though, before we move on to kind of break down the Amex. Give me an equivalent in another sport. And this will kind of just dovetail right into the Amex recap. But give me an equivalent in another sport of 20-year-old Nick Dunlap winning, a run-of-the-mill PGA Tour event with a decent field. Was this the equivalent of, I don't know, like a walk-on in the NFL. Josh Dobbs, is it Josh Dobbs? Like,
Maybe Josh Dobbs winning the Super Bowl.
I mean, the age element though is so different there. I mean, is it kind of maybe like Brock Purdy being the Mr. Irrelevant last year if they would
Yeah, I
have
was gonna say,
won the Super Bowl?
Puka Nakua, right? Like barely
these guys out of
drafted,
nowhere. Yeah,
to
I don't know.
top five wide receiver.
It's hard because it's like golf, being an individual sport. It's him and it's his achievement. It's Puka's achievement or Purdy's achievement is a function of the system and everything around him. But it's just hard to express this in terms of other sports, how like ridiculous it is that this kid won this event.
Yeah,
I mean, there's probably no
it's going
real
into
parallel.
tennis, right? Tennis is probably the most likely comparison because it's another individual sport. You're going against, you beat Roger Federer in the first round of the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
But then you're still going to lose and not win the whole tournament. But that was your amazing.
Yeah, I agree. There's probably not a direct parallel in football. Maybe something in baseball. You could, let's say some kid out of high school gets drafted and for some reason ends up in the majors when he's only 19 or 20 and does something cool. But that's still not. Yeah,
it is. Well, let's talk a little about the Amex. But first, I want to just introduce the beverages. Jordan, you got a half full pint glass there. What do you got?
Hooey.
There we go. We talked about that last week.
Classic, yes. I need to go to top 10 and reload up on just drinkable IPAs. That's my beer drinking resolution for the year, is don't get kicked in the nuts every time you open a can of beer.
I like it. By the way, I have an answer to my question on who the first team All-Americans were last year. Ludwig, Fred Biondi, Adrien Dumont de Chasseur, David Ford, Ben James, Tommy Cool, Christo Lamprek from Georgia Tech, Gordon Sargent, Preston Summerhays, Caleb Surart, and Michael Bjornsson.
Man,
there's more than a few names that we talked about last year.
Yeah, Ben James, the UVA kid, and
it's strong.
Lamprecht was leading the British Open last year.
Wait,
so
it's pronounced Lamprecht. I thought from Kyle's pronunciation it was Lamprecht.
All right.
Well,
so I have
what do you got?
I have a sparkling Hopwater. Yay!
Ooh.
Next week.
Yay!
Yay! My pickings are slim too. I pieced together a pregame of a high noon tequila seltzer, passion fruit, with a let's see, a Breckenridge vanilla porter, which actually is pretty solid. But the two ends of the spectrum I'm hitting there from high noon to Breckenridge vanilla porter is pretty impressive. My wife came up yesterday after lamenting the beer selection the night before. She goes, "Look what I found!" And there was a pseudo Sue that was hiding in the back of the fridge, and she just exclaimed that she was taking the last one, and this is what I'm left with.
What was the date on that?
I was probably from like 6 months ago.
Oh,
not Jordan level.
Not Jordan level. Not Jordan level. Although listener 90 Degree Rule was nice enough to share with me a 2022 hazy IPA from a Denver trip he did, and it was terrible. I imagine it was good 2 years ago. It just wasn't good in 2024. Nice. It was very nice. All right, real quick, the Amex. So obviously, if you haven't heard, an amateur Nick Dunlap, 20-year-old Alabama wins. I didn't see a ton. I saw the last putt go in. I was kind of in and out doing a few things, and was over at my parents and saw the putt go in. I was nervous for him. It was a really cool moment, but I missed Burns double dunking it in the water down the stretch. Mm-hmm. Kyle, so he puts it in the water on 17 and 18.
Yeah, it's doesn't get all the way through on an 8-iron, leaves it out there, doesn't even hit the rocks on 17, just splashes down well right of the green. And then took an aggressive line on 18, turned it over a touch, and splash.
Yeah, well, it wasn't that it was handed to him. The Dunlap wasn't handed the trophy. He still had to make a gutsy par on 18, which sounded like he got a pretty ridiculous break off a fan or something to even keep his ball that close to the green.
I never saw a good enough video, but the way where the ball landed in the crowd and where it ended up, it got a decent kick to get out of the crowd and down the little hill to the collection area. That makes you think it hit something.
Yeah.
Hmm.
No, it
Well-
wasn't like an obvious like hit a shoulder and bounced. It just like it probably hit the ground and bounced and kind of kicked over
Sure.
instead of going straight.
Yeah, it was great up and down though, and making that putt was ice cold.
Yeah, it was super cool, and he did it with an alumni in his group, JT, who I guess he's back. He's back on the sauce. He's eating cheese and dairy and gluten. And Jordan, for some reason, you felt he was worth picking in one and done.
Yeah, because he was obviously going to be a top 5 finisher. I read one article and he was like, "Oh, yeah, Justin Thomas seems to have figured some things out." And I said, "Yes, he has." And what did I get? A text? What judgmental text did I get from you, Mike, when you saw?
I think I
who
probably
I'd
said
picked?
that's the stupidest pick I've ever seen. It's probably it's a paraphrase.
Yeah, and now I'm only $980,000 ahead of you after 2 tournaments.
Hey, it's early. It's early. We'll come back on the one and done update here in a second. Listener League. Kyle, congrats. Putting an RTG logo at the top of the Listener League leaderboard. Listener Derek, finishing first last week, comes up, backs it up with a second place finish this week in the Listener League. And then Truffle Shuffle rounding out the top 3. Another killer model week for the RTG expert model. It's the second straight week where we saw 80% of our top plays make the cut. So that's anybody that we see getting 25% of the expert attention or more. 84% made the cut this week, plus another double-digit advantage. I think we saw anyone ranking 90 or higher on the power index was outscoring the field by 20 DraftKings points. So you really couldn't go wrong at the top of the model. But I went wrong playing Adam Shank and Tom Kim. And so I think it's a funky week if you're playing, especially cash contests where 5 of 6 wasn't really worth a whole lot because the entire field's playing 54 holes, so they just are a little less time to make up ground in your contest if you did slip 5 through. I don't know, Kyle, what do you think? And you're on mute.
You're on mute still, Kyle. Amateur hour.
He's coughing, and I muted myself when I was coughing. Yeah,
Good.
the reason I won the Listener League is because that was probably my most model heavy lineup. I should probably do that more often other places. So with 5 people that were highlighted a lot by the model, then Rio Hizatani was kind of the clincher for me. But for one of the great plays of the week, shout out to those guys on CBAZ. We had a couple, Jeff Ulrich at DK Nation, Bo McBriar at Fantasy Pros, and Ron Kloss at BetSperts. So good work on the CBAS play.
Excellent. Top expert of the week was Alex Hunter over at DK Network. I didn't realize this. I should have highlighted this last week. So Alex Hunter gives us a 4-play value article every week. So he's rostering guys, playing guys $7,500 and below in DraftKings. 4 of 4 made cuts last week. 4 of 4 made cuts this week. Griffin, Smalley, Duncan, Ryder, enough to get him the top spot in the RTG model. Gutsiest play was Byron Lindeque, Model Maniac with Chan Kim. No idea who that is, but Byron clearly thought that he was a play this week, and Chan Kim ended up finishing, I think he was top 10. So good work there. Jordan, one and done. What was the damage this week? I know where I sit. We don't have to keep on talking about that, but what was the damage this week?
I mean, I'm going to keep bringing that up a lot. Well, so two people had one had Justin Thomas, one had Xander Schauffele. Got third place, which ended up making second place money thanks to Nick Dunlap winning. So a cool $600K went to Waconia guy, and this other one, Gopher JD. I'm not sure who that is, but took in a first place. Had a couple other picks. Hadwin, Burns, Poston, all getting 6 figures. Otherwise, it dropped off pretty quickly. With these non-elevated events, money doesn't flow very freely.
No.
Unless you're in the top 5. Year to date, we've got Rock Chalk MN just over $1 million. I'm currently in second place, guys, at also over $1 million. And then we've got a few more in the 800 and 700,000s. I sent the text out, but top 4 guys all live in my neighborhood, including myself. So we have a side text going on, rooting for each other. And anytime I get a pick from one of you two, I tell them, don't pick this guy. He's gonna suck.
Yeah,
this week."
the collusion that is about to happen here is
all it is
unbearable.
don't pick. I was like, just don't pick. Mike said he was gonna pick this guy. Don't pick him. He's gonna be bad.
You know, that's the closest anything with Gopher in its name's been to a #1 ranking in a long time.
This is true.
Oh,
This
Finally.
is true.
All right. And in case you're wondering,
Other than hockey,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
You could
I
have
was
picked.
never had a #1 ranking, so I guess.
We don't have to go that far. Come on. Women's soups. Let's go.
Sorry, since you've been a fan,
Wrestling.
they haven't had a #1 ranking.
In hockey? Yeah, you're right.
Well, in any sport.
Oh, come on. That is not true.
Well, I don't know that we're gonna
Challenge.
settle this here.
Wrestling?
Wrestling, which is also Gophers are always top 5 also.
Women's college basketball.
They've been #1?
They were #1 earlier this year.
Oh yeah, and then are we going to talk about the incident tonight or no?
No. All right, move on.
So salty. I thought about opening with it too, just to see what would happen, but now I know.
We're on the time limit here, gentlemen.
We are on a time limit. Let's get to the Farmers Insurance Open, please, at our beloved Torrey Pines Golf Course in La Jolla, California. We got a rotation event here, north and south courses. So it's only a 2-course rotation, meaning all players will play the north course and the south course, and then play the final 2 rounds on the south course on Saturday and Sunday. Last year, Max Homa won, sort of much of a hometown guy up the road in Los Angeles. And I love this pod every year because we get to reminisce a little bit about our early 2020, before the world shut down, trip to San Diego, very early in the RTG days, really before RTG was even formed. We were out there playing a memorable round on Torrey Pines South Course. Kyle, do you got a memory? From the South Course?
Those that have been with us for a while have heard these before, but I 4-putted on #3 green, so that the tricky POA that you'll hear about this week, it wasn't a late day bloom because I'm pretty sure we're on 4 green at about 9:45 a.m. But hey, it was a tricky pit. I 4-putted. I might have hit some grandstands on 18 with a errant bunker bladed shot. And our 4th playing partner, a random gentleman, had done something. He he rusted out his clubs. I had never seen that before. So those were the 3 most memorable things for me.
I remember Kyle, you like pulling one of us aside, being like, what are clubs is he using? Like, did he get those from a garage sale? And I was like, it's a thing. The guy was a golf sicko. Like, it's a thing.
To explain, he told us he did it. So he would stop buying and reselling clubs. So that was the way he made himself keep those clubs, because he took away a lot of them.
Want to buy them.
Yeah.
Jordan, I know you played Torrey twice, but what do you remember from our early RTG trip?
Ooh. It's always still Kyle hitting the bleachers. It's great. I mean, I remember not playing that well, and I don't remember why. I just didn't. I mean, of course,
it might have been the fact that they were like
the rough
set up for the farmers. They
the
had a local rule.
Thick. Yeah, it was
1 minute. You could look for your ball in the rough for 1 minute. because you were unlikely to find it if you missed the fairway. That was the deal.
Did we have that? I don't remember us losing any balls in the rough though. I just remember it
No,
being hard to hit out of.
yeah, and that's like that to me is what I remember is that the golf course embraces its municipal like legacy so well as being a premier golf course in the world, frankly. And the property is unbelievable if you haven't been out there, but it embraces that municipal feel so well. It has a net on the driving range. The grass is like this. I know it's a lot of it's this kikuya. A lot of the rough is like crabgrass, and so you grow this crabgrass out at like 4 inches or 5 inches or whatever it's going to be. Like it feels just like a really nicely manicured municipal golf course, and I really enjoyed that the vibe was very SoCal. So someday, guys, we'll be back.
Yes. But like, do you want to go back or do you want to play a different nice course out there?
I would play Torrey Pines again. I mean, I'd like to play other golf courses first, but I would play Torrey Pines again.
I mean, I would play it again, yes. But like if I'm going to San Diego, I would probably try and get on a different course.
Fair.
First.
Fair. But for the players that are playing there this weekend, and they're playing the golf course in a very challenging setup, much more challenging than we played. And specifically the South course, obviously, you're going to play it 3 times if you make the cut. It's going to be the tougher of the 2 golf courses. I have not played the North golf course, but the South course is going to be a ball strikers golf course. And so, Kyle, is there all we know is that tee to green, you got to be long, you got to hit it well with your irons. What are the keys here?
Well, I have some stats to back up what you were saying there about the course difference, Mike. And this is courtesy of Byron and the Model Maniac. Check it out. He has a nice tweet on the subject. But in 2023, the average scoring on the South course was 73.62, 71.46 on the North, so 2 strokes different. It was even more exaggerated the prior year, 72.35 on the South, 68.77 on the North.
Wow.
So you're one round, whether it's Thursday or Friday, you got to get after it on the North course. So I think that's one thing to maybe check out this week, especially if you look at a weather report tomorrow morning. If there's going to be a day that's more advantageous to score, you want the guys on the North course that day. I mean, that's how I could potentially see using weather this week. And the ability to not only just score better, but score low, obviously, is there more on the North course as well. In 2022, you had 4% rounds almost at sub 67, where there's only 1% on the South course.
Question: why do they have more players that they let into the tournament? So they need to use 2 courses. Do they use it just because they're there, right? Like it feels like it would be a better tournament if they just played all 4 on the South course and really tested the guys.
I think the primary driver for why we have course rotations this time of year is daylight hours.
Yeah, it is 151 players in the field this week, and so that's a pretty big.
They can let in a few more with.
That's a pretty big
hours.
Field.
Okay.
And yeah, you're right. Like just absolutely no daylight. So we're still gonna. I mean, even that being said, like we're still gonna probably have pace of play issues, but
yeah. And one of the other big differences between the North and South, besides just overall hardness and distance, is that you have bent grass greens on the North course and you have the tricky polo on the South. Funny enough, though, the hardest 3-hole stretch that exists on either course is actually on the North course. So there is a pretty hard 3-hole stretch. I think it's like 3, 4, and 5. Distance certainly helps on the South course, but it's not the only path to victory. You can't necessarily be short, but if you're plenty long and accurate, that's a path that has worked in the past as well. And so I don't think it's truly a bomb and gouge narrative. People kind of think of Bryson at Winged Foot. I think you can go there, but it's not the only way. Narrow fairways, long rough, as we were talking about, 3.5, 4 inches, and it's been really wet in San Diego this week. They got a lot of rain yesterday, so they're probably not even going to chop it down more at all from there. So it could be really long. A lot of long irons in play, and you're going to have to scramble because you're going to not be in the fairway more often than not.
All right. Well, I'm looking at the top of the model, and I see a lot of guys that have played this golf course very well over the years, as well as some rock solid ball strikers. So, Kyle, do you want to run through who we got at the top?
That's a good way to put it. Leading the way so far at 37% mention share. You have some of those guys that have the good history here. Keegan Bradley, Luke List. Luke List has the title or the dub here when he beat Willie Z in a playoff. And Mention Power likes him a little bit more than Keegan at this point in time. I'm intrigued by Keegan this week. He did get second Sony, second here last year, and has a fifth year as well. And he's made every cut since 2017. So certainly one of those course history guys. And then kind of different players beyond him. Colin Morikawa, Harris English, Jason Day, and Max Homa, all at 32% mention share. Some more of the ball striking vein, some guys with the local narratives as well. From a mention power standpoint, the model likes Colin Morikawa the best so far.
So, who do you like?
Well, in addition to Keegan, I'm looking at Sung Jae, 9,900 this week. Also in that 32% bucket. Our Mention Power Index really likes him. Spencer over at Rotoballers and Brandon Gadula have highlighted him this week. And at 9,900, I think it allows you to do a little bit something different on builds and to avoid that 10K range. And then I'm going to go back to the well with Ryo Hizatani. He's 7,500 this week. 22% mention share and pretty strong on our MPI. Pat Mayo's on him, Bo McBrayer, and John Hasselbauer as well, and Landon Slinsky. So the interesting thing there is he's 7,500 this week. That's exactly what he was last week as well. And then my bomb special of the week is Sam Stevens to do a little bit of a pivot. Go down the price point a little bit, 7,000. But I think I'll have a sprinkle.
Jordan, I could listen to Kyle say Ryo Hisatsune all day long.
It never ceases to amaze me, Kyle. Never.
The best part is I probably have watched more of him play than either of you the last 2 weeks. And
I've literally never heard.
And it still does not resonate with me.
The good thing your last name is Leng, otherwise you'd have trouble saying your own last name.
Well, how you spell it and how it's said is a challenge in its own.
Who was it, Mike, that always called you Kosik?
Oh, BP.
BP. Who also forgot Kyle's name after meeting him many times.
Yeah.
BP. I don't think he's a listener yet. Let's change that.
Get him.
Who do you like at Torrey Pines, Jordan?
All right. So I'm going. Normally, I'm pretty big on the MPI. I like to tell people way down the board, and I'll have some of those. But first off, I'm going Michael Kim. He's got a 0 MPI right now, so not my normal recommendation, but $7,300. He's from Southern California. He has great history on POA greens. I think it's a pretty safe play for $7,300. But then further down, way down, we got some high MPIers. Steven Jaeger. Is it Jaeger or Jaeger?
Jaeger.
Jaeger and Will Zalatoris, both above 80 on the MPI. And Will at 8,000 isn't crazy. I still think his game is garbage.
Yes, it is.
But some of our best ranked contributors are on him this week. Kyle probably knows who, but I do not.
I would love to see him flash this week. That would be super cool. It feels a little early, but hey, it's nothing like catching Will Z early this year. It's going to happen at some point, but this feels a little early on my part. Jordan, I have a question for you. Where did Michael Kim go to high school?
I like that Jordan's dropping stats on Michael Kim.
You like that? I was researching for my Survivor League, so that's where that came from.
Where did he go to high school?
Rancho Cucamonga.
Torrey Pines High School.
Oh, It's also, this is the 7th time he's played here with 5 made cuts.
His best finish out of those 5 made cuts is T23,
Hey.
to go with a 44, T53, T54, and a T31.
Okay, so he's really good on the North Course, and that gets him through to the weekend, and then he struggles.
I'll give you had the putting stat. He has not lost strokes putting since 2014 here. I'll give you that.
I like Michael Kim as my SoCal sneaky play coming in, hopefully single digit ownership, $7,300 local boy. I mean,
he's been playing too well to come in at low ownership, I think.
We'll see. It's projecting low enough. I mean, compared to, you got to pick somebody with a local angle. And you're going to take Homa, you're going to take Morikawa, you can take Schauffele. I think Michael Kim is a good dark horse for that angle. Maybe the only other guy, I mean, you guys have mentioned him, like Sungjae and Keegan. I feel like, Keegan's far from home, but he's got great course history here. Sungjae has been playing great. Those are the 2 places I'm looking, and I might have a one and done pick in there as well.
Okay, so everyone, don't pick him. Mike's on him, one and done. Do not pick him.
So Sungjae's history here is pretty solid. T52, T36, T32, and then 6th and 4th the last 2 years.
Yeah. Well,
should we workshop? Yeah, do we need to workshop Jordan's pick here? Or do you have something else to highlight? Yeah.
We can workshop it. I mean, I think we've mentioned, I also, you have to draw the parallels to the guys that play down under, just with the Kikuya grass that's out here at Torrey, whether it's Day or Ryan Fox. Either of those guys have a chance to be solid this week. I don't know, Jordan. If I got to get someone across the line to make the cut, I feel like if you haven't played Sungjae yet, I think between Sungjae and Keegan, these are probably decent spots for him.
That was the 3 that I had, other than Michael Kim, which would be a real ballsy play.
There's no reason to do that.
Was Minwoo Lee, Jason Day, or Sungjae.
I like Keegan. I like where Mike was going with Keegan.
But does Keegan have any other courses?
Yeah, of course he does. He showed up in the Northeast, so I think he's demonstrated that he does play well close to home. But I mean, his history here: 2nd, 65th, 16th, 35th, 5th, 4th. He's made the cut every year since 2017. Finished 2nd at the Sony.
So hasn't missed a cut since making the cut. And we can find some others in other tournaments.
It's a total anomaly if Keegan Bradley misses the cut this week.
Okay,
that's my play for you.
I'm gonna switch
there
it.
You go. Lock it in. Kyle,
I picked Eric Cole before I did any research at all because he's been playing well. But this is why
does not feel like an Eric Cole course. Does not feel like an Eric Cole course.
Okay.
I think you're gonna want to.
Keegan is selected.
I think Kyle, you also said you think Thigala gets a lot of heat this week. Again, another Southern California guy. Tons of volatility. Totally could see him winning this event. 100% could see him winning this event.
Correct. Yeah, but I think it's a little volatile for what for Jordan's going on. I did think about that too. From a comp course standpoint, one I've heard mentioned is the Memorial. It's long, kind of thicker rough, smaller greens, and usually pretty decent field, equivalent to what we have here. So just something to throw out if you're looking for a comp course out there. That being said, there's not a whole lot of people that we're talking about that played well at the Memorial last year. So.
All right. Well, I'm gonna in the interest of time, I'm gonna skip over tiers and go right to the name game because I'm really excited about this.
All right, let's go.
Let's go. So the name game last week, Kyle, you gave us 4 bands that were playing Coachella and the PGA Tour members that were filling in for those bands in the upcoming music festival. Unfortunately, the listeners got us all beat with Florida Georgia Line, Eric Cole, Zach Blair, Lee Hodges, 255 DK points. points were hard to come by this week with
Yeah.
a lot of missed cuts.
We had what, 3 people make the cut out of the 12?
So the listeners are going to take the top spot. So I took the games making on their behalf. They will pick last. Kyle, you finish in the rear with 187 points, and Bjork. So you'll pick first. I will pick second. Jordan, you'll pick third.
All right.
So here's what we got this
And
week.
everyone has a W 3 weeks in except for me.
That's right. That's the way it should
How
be.
it should be.
That's the way it should be. Since we're in San Diego, I'm trying to think what we did something good last year for San Diego for the name game, but since we're in San Diego, we figured we might as well go and see the sights. While we're here. And we did this on the RTG trip in 2020. We took all the kids that existed at the time, because there's a lot more now, to the San Diego Zoo. And I will say that in my plug for the San Diego Zoo, the San Diego Zoo is world famous. And when you go to a world famous zoo, I don't think you realize like how well designed the animal displays are. Like you get whatever they do, like you get really close. You're like right there with the lions and the tigers and whatever. And I thought,
Just not the pandas, because that exhibit was closed when we were there.
fair enough. But I thought, what else might you be able to get kind of up close with if you went to the San Diego Zoo this week during the Farmers Open? So I have 4 teams of animal themed golfers that you can choose from. Now, these are all going to come in, salaries are all going to come in between $23,100 and $23,600. And it's primarily a 9K, a 7K, and a 6K player for the most part. So in Team 1, we have Ryan Fox, Vince Whale E, and Tony the Tiger Finau. Team 2, Ben Griffin, a mythical animal, Marcus Bird, and Sungjae Impala. Team 3 is Trace Crow. Now, often zoos might have some botanical gardens too, so you might stop by the Justin Rose Garden. Or maybe even see a Harris English Bulldog while you're there. Team 4, Wilson Furr, JJ Spawn, and probably my favorite player this week, Ludwig O. Bear.
Mm-hmm. Well done.
More like
I'm
Ludwig.
impressed.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I'm impressed by the tightness of the salary distribution as well, because it's not only fitting the narrative that's hard sometimes, it's really doing that part of it. So good work, Mike. I'm gonna go with Team 1. I'm gonna go see a fox, a whale, and a Tony the Tiger, because those are the most important things I want to see at the zoo.
I also think Ryan Fox and Tony Finau have plenty of equity at this golf course.
One fun piece of information today. Guess what shirt I happened to put on our youngest son under his sweatshirt today? CTSC goes oh.
Nice.
Those still exist? Wow.
Yep. It got
Love that.
handed down from the oldest to the youngest.
Yeah.
I love that. Our parent company. Those are OG. All right. Well, I get to pick second, so this is tough. I think I want to say Ludwig's game is tailor-made for this golf course, but he's kind of underperformed the last time out. So I am going to go with Team 3, Trace Crow, no idea who that is, Justin Rose, and Harris English. All right, Jordan.
Trace Crow is 27 years old. He is not good at golf. He went to Auburn. He has 0 career top 10s. But he's only been pro for 3.5 years.
Hey, he's not good at golf is relative.
Actually, he's only played 4 events, but he's made 2 cuts. Oh, now we need to see what are those cuts.
No,
Mike.
What you need to do is you need to pick a team. And you get to decide if you're Griffin, Bird, Impala or Fur, Spawn, O'Bear. Do, 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 do,
We're gonna
do,
go
do,
first
do.
Bono Bear.
All right. Well, the listeners, they got Sung Jae. They got Sung Jae as their captain this week. They might be all right. It might be all right. So that brings us to good work on the name game. That brings us to Kyle. As always, are you going to bet on the Farmers Insurance Open?
Looking at Keegan, looking at Willie Z, just that's more of a FOMO situation. Everyone was on him here last year and he sucked, but whatever. But the plays I like, Hideki, you can get a pretty good number out there on Hideki. Sam Stevens at 250 to 1, and Taylor Pendrith at 120 to 1. So good little distribution. I like it.
I think I've seen a lot of buzz on Hideki this week. Haven't really seen him. He played the Sony and he played the Century. Didn't show up at the Century all that well. Played the Sony, finished T30. Has decent history here. Hasn't missed a cut since 2016. Finished 9th last year. I do think he's flying under the radar a little bit this week. We don't have him charting all that high in the RTG model, 15% mention share right now, but I kind of like that as a betting play. He has a chance to flash.
Yeah, like you said, even a third and a 12th here to go with that ninth. He's always gained strokes around the green at Tour. So seems to have the scrim lean down for this event. So I like it.
All right, well, good stuff. I'm excited to tune into this on television this weekend. It's so cool getting to see the scenes from Torrey Pines and La Jolla and the paragliders and all of that going on at the golf course. It's just a great tournament to catch on TV. Someday it might be fun to cruise around there live in person. You can follow us all week on Twitter at RTG Podcast DFS. Our podcasts come out Wednesdays, previewing each PGA Tour event. Follow us on YouTube, Reading the Green, and of course on any major podcast platform. We'll be back in a week with the results from the Farmers and look ahead to the first elevated event of the year, the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. See ya.